Hello everyone, in today's video we are going to look at a real live lesson that I gave a couple of weeks ago, and with a very specific challenge set of is it possible using the stack and tilt system to teach a 20 handicap golfer who slices the ball to draw it during the course of just one lesson. Now, as I said, this happened a couple of weeks ago, so it's not a live lesson in that sense, but we're going to go into the TrackMan numbers and the videos of this golfer swing, and we'll see what progress we were able to make during that session. Now, I think this will be really important, really interesting for you guys to see what's actually possible, but also what isn't possible and the steps that are required and how certain things do take time. But it's a real in-depth, genuine look at a lesson. Can the stack and tilt system teach a golfer who slices the golf ball to stop slicing it within just the course of one lesson? And if you're a slicer, I bet you want to be able to do that. Let's have a look.
First things first, if someone comes in and they are a slicer, what I expect to see in terms of the numbers is a club path that is out to in. And you can see this is an example shot from our golfer. He swung out to in 12.2 degrees, so I expect an out to in club path. The other thing I expect is a club face that's open to that path. That's going to make the ball curve to the right. Okay, so in this particular case, he had an out to in path, face open to the path, even in this case open to the target. And you can see when that ball started relatively straight, then curved way off to the right. And in fact, it had 70 feet of curve towards the right-hand side. And obviously, as the loft is diminished, this means that this is likely even more pronounced. So absolutely here we have our 20 handicap golfer, exactly what you'd expect in terms of the numbers when hitting a slice shot. So this is one of the shots he had, exactly as expected. So now let's move on to the video of his swing. So looking at the golfer's swing and through the prism of finding an out to in club path, any movements, any swing thoughts that the golfer has that correlates to creating that outward swing path. And also we want to see whether there's anything in the swing that is opening the club face to the path, okay, creating that slice shot. So the very first thing you'll notice, if I just run through the swing, you'll notice that as he takes the club back, he very much takes the club back on the outside. The club head moves outwards rather than inwards straight away. And I think even without the TrackMan numbers, if you were to see a club approaching the golf ball like this, you can see how it's to the outside of the ball, swinging across it. And so the club path is relatively visible. You can see that he's swinging from out to in, okay? So I said right from the get-go, using the principles of stack and tilt, and again, it's all relatively simple. In fact, I would say very simple. And the level of sophistication increases as the golfer improves and needs that level of sophistication. But to begin with, it is extremely simple. So the very basic premise here is that the club is built on a tilted angle. I make the analogy, it's a little bit like this golf club here is built on a rooftop, right? So it's on a pitched roof. That would be the roof, and the club shaft is on a pitched roof. And as a result of that, the club head needs to work somewhat on that pitched roof. So as the golfer goes back, the club head and the hands should be going up in the direction of this red line. So in other words, the hands should be going backwards, upwards and inwards, okay? If I represent that on the ground using the grid, the hands would be going this way and the club head would be going that way, okay? That's the ideal, that's what we're looking for. So if we have a look at our golfer, what does he do? He takes the club back and you can see it's going the other way. So the hands on club head aren't tracing those yellow lines. In fact, they are going like so. They are moving off to the right, over this way. Okay, so a good reference point here is that when the club shaft is parallel to the ground, I'd actually like the hands to be going towards the base of the belt. So I'd expect to see the hands in this sort of area right here at this moment in time. So instead of taking the club outwards, away from him, he'd have taken it inwards, more towards him, more to the left as we're looking at this video. As he keeps on going, right here, left arm parallel to the ground. Again, just a simple reference point, just if you're filming yourselves when you swing, I'd expect to see the hands in this sort of area for a stock draw. So he just doesn't quite have the hands inward enough for around that backswing. He goes to the top of the swing, and here we are. And again, at this point in time, he has a little bit more depth because he has gone more inwards. What I like to see is the hands to the left-hand side of the trail shoulder. So again, if I draw this line in orange, it's a little bit better. So that's the trail shoulder, and the hands are to the left of it, which is great. That's kind of the reference point I use. But you do that without lifting the arms. So you can see how here he's lifted the hands above the plane of the shoulders. And you can see there's this gap appearing underneath his trail elbow. This big gap, this triangle right here, okay? So that's where he's created the out-to-in path. The hands haven't worked inwards and they've lifted above his shoulders too much. And so when he comes down, it's what I typically describe to a lot of people as a Marie Antoinette swing, where the club shaft goes above the shoulder here, and it should in reality be going underneath that shoulder. The club head should be going through the trail elbow, the club shaft should be going down the right forearm. The club head here should be on the hands or even a fraction to the left of the hands, not to the right as they are here. Okay, so that's the very first thing. In terms of the path, to make it more into out, he needs to correct that backswing piece, and quite simply, I describe this in 2 words. The stack and tilt system says hands in. So everything that's in is everything that is this side of the golfer, everything that's out is everything that's that side of the golfer. So hands in simply means bringing the hands behind him, bringing the hands inwards without lifting them. And as far as the club path is concerned, that's really all he needs to do there. He needs to shift his club path by bringing the hands inwards. Now, if we get rid of these lines, there's obviously a second point we have to mention, is that the club face is open. And so when he makes his backswing, where do we spot this? Where can we notice the club face opening? And I would say, again, right away, because I would expect the club face here to be angled in such a way that the leading edge of the club would be a little bit more this way, right? So he's opening the face too fast, incrementally too fast. When he keeps on going back, you can keep seeing that opening. So I've got a very easy reference point. When you get to the top of the swing, right here, and you can just about see it. I might zoom out a little so you can see it a little bit better. Notice how the club face here is located to the left underneath the club shaft. So the club face here, as you look at it, is to the left underneath the club shaft. And I would just expect that club face to be a little bit more on this side of the shaft. So if it was on that side of the shaft, it would be less open, and therefore you'd be able to have a face that's close to the path more easily coming down. So reference point, simple reference point. At this point in time, he has his club path too far out to in, and he's got a face that's open to that path. He's got a face that's open to the shaft, more specifically in this case. As he comes down, you keep seeing that, see how the club face, again, is very open to the shaft in that position. So see how the club face is pointing up right this way, and that's obviously not where it needs to be pointing. It should be down towards the golf ball just a little bit more already. So I'd imagine the leading edge here would be perpendicular to the ground in the standard case. And you still see it as he comes through. Club face is pointing very much to the right, still very much to the right, even though he's only a couple of frames away from impact. So it's making the whole thing very complicated, okay? So we've looked at a swing, we've seen what it's like, you've seen the out to in, you've seen the face open. Let's see what we did. Here on the left-hand side, we have the results of the work we did, okay? So you can see that he changed his club path So it's now 5.8 in to out on this particular shot. You can see how his face was now closed to the path, and so his ball was curving to the left. So in this particular case, he's hit a shot, so it started right of target and curved back to the target. It had 14 feet of left curve on it. Okay, so how did we do it? So he's taken his jacket off. That was a magic move. No, just kidding, obviously not. So if I zoom in just a little bit so we can see him a bit more clearly swing-wise here. So I said the hand should work inwards, also a big thing in terms of path, and you can see I've put a stick on the ground right here. And all this is meant to do is mimic the trajectory of his hands, so he can see that from his perspective as a golfer. His hands, instead of going outwards now, instead of moving off in this direction, they're going to move along that red line. And I've asked him to make some small swings here, because obviously this is quite different. You can see his club path went from -12 to 5, like that's nearly a 20-degree difference just in the club path. So this isn't a small change for a golfer, but it's something that he is able to do because of strength and the simplicity of the system. As soon as you do a couple of good key moves, you do get results very, very quickly. And before we go any further, I want to make sure you guys are aware, I do have a 45-minute video available on the Skillist app. If you search for my profile, with all the details on exactly how to get rid of your slice. Drills to do it, proper explanation of all the different moves, and I promise you, if you've been slicing for most of your golfing life, a genuine solution to your issues. This is not beyond the average player at all, not even close. You're just not being told the right things, you're not trying the right things if you haven't managed to sort it. So let's keep on going. And so as he goes back now, you see the hands, instead of working down the blue line away from him, are working inwards towards him. The other thing you notice is how the club face is angled down much more, so it's pointing down to the ball, so to speak, as we look at it here. So he's stopping here, left arm parallel, and this time, like I mentioned in the prior video, his hands are now located towards the base of the right bicep, so they're much more inwards, they're much lower in relation to the shoulder. So that's the club path taken care of to a great extent. And the next thing you look at is the club face. So you can see when you look at the club face right here at the top, a similar thing. Now the club face is actually visible above the shaft rather than underneath the shaft. And all things equal, that means that club face has opened significantly less. So as he comes down from here, see the club shaft angle is much flatter than it was. It's not, the club shaft is underneath the shoulder. So in reality, there's some things here that are too much. There's a lot of work to do yet, but this is absolutely just the first lesson. Okay. So he's created that into-out path. He's able to hit the draw, and he's a relatively skillful 20 handicap golfer, and he's been able to do this very quickly. Now in reality, he has a package of sessions over the next few weeks and months, and there are things we're going to be working on straight away in order to control the amount of curve on the shot, control the draw, control the strike, because here it would be excessively, it wouldn't be excessively downwards, it would be a little bit too shallow, there'd be some fins, some pushes, some fats in this. So we'll have to control the arc and exactly where his hands are going as he comes through, exactly where they're tracing as he comes down. But as a very first session, a golfer that's unknown to me prior to this, it's a way of building a little bit of confidence and showing them what they can do in really a very short amount of time. And in fact, this golfer did message me straight after the session and said, I went straight onto the golf course, I played 2 holes, and I hit 3 really nice draws. He was so happy, which is the end goal, isn't it really? We're trying to make you enjoy your rounds of golf more. But again, just to say, so using the stack and tilt system, the golfer had an out-swing club path. How have we sorted it? With 2 magic words: hands in. He had the club face was a little bit closed, too open. How have we sorted that? We've looked at the club face angle at the top of the swing, and made sure it's in the correct position. So again, just reference points that are universal. Anyone can see them, anyone can correct them once they know those reference points. And hopefully it's going to help you, and hopefully you can see the beauty of having a system in place and how it can really impact your golf. Any questions? Let me know. Happy golfing, guys. Cheers.
Thank you very much for watching today's video. Hopefully that's dispelled one of those common myths. Straight back, I hear it all the time. Don't do it, copy the best. There's good reasons why, as you've seen. If you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, then please do. It really helps me to grow the channel going forwards and to give you guys even more content. If you have any questions, then please pop them down below in the comments. Don't forget to like as well if you did. If you'd like to work with me, you can do both online through the Skillist app wherever you are in the world. It's an awesome way to learn, or in person here in the UK. Happy golfing.